today is, oh, I should never forget this day.
June 16th.
June 16th, 2023. I'm in Los Angeles, and where are you?
I'm in Redondo Beach.
Ah, perfect. Good. So tell us about yourself. First of all, what's your career, your occupation?
My occupation was in education.
Mhm.
I worked at a lot of different schools. I was a high school teacher in the beginning. Then I went into middle school. I was at Gardena High School. From there, I went to Markham. Back in the days, there were junior high schools, not middle schools. From Markham, I went on to continuation school. I was at Angels Gate continuation, always in English, but picking up whatever back in the old days, no matter what your credential was, and mine is for English, they could sort of assign you where they wanted to. The rules have changed, the laws have changed. They can't do that much anymore, but they could. So even one time I taught when I was at Markham, I taught Markham Junior High School. I taught shop for a semester. I'm terrified of machines and things like that. I don't even know how I did it. It was just scary for sure.
What did people make in the class?
Yeah. Then as I mentioned, I went into a continuation school. So I taught a lot of high school subjects there. From there, I went to LeConte Junior High School. That was in Hollywood. From LeConte, I did a special program for the district. I worked with juvenile offenders to see if we could help them transition back into a regular LAUSD school. Some were successful, some weren't. From there,
have you seen any of your students from your past? You have contact with them?
Not really,
No.
certainly not from those early days. From there, I went on to Revere Middle School, and our junior high school. Revere converted to a junior high, and I went with the 9th grade to Palisades High School. So my actual last teaching job was at Palisades High. And I got an opportunity to do some special program for the district, and I left teaching and went into that. And my bosses, I was working for a nonprofit, but still under the umbrella of LAUSD. And my bosses convinced me to go back to school at 60 and get a master's degree because they thought I would be a great administrator. So went to Mount St. Mary's, obtained a master's degree in a year, which was working, going to school. I still can't believe I did all that. And then from there, I went to Ala Vista Middle School in
How
Silmar.
many schools did you work at?
I
Counted them?
I think it totals to about 7 or so, something like that, maybe 8.
Oh, at least.
And then I only did that for a year, and I decided to retire. And I retired at 61. And is that right? Yeah, I think I was 61 when I retired. And then I went into consulting. I did 2 things. I consulted with LAUSD. I went into schools and worked with problem teachers. Then I got offered a job with Pepperdine. supervising student teachers, and with Cal State Northridge. So I worked 10 years supervising student teachers and consulting in a number of LAUSD schools. So, yeah, so
It's
it's
a
kind
lot.
of,
Revised your count. Maybe I'm wrong.
yes,
I'm
yes.
not
If
good at
I
math.
think about all those schools I went into during that time of consulting, yeah, I couldn't even give you a count on those because they had me in a lot of elementary schools. So I ended up with this vast amount of experience. In other words, because of my work with that nonprofit, I was in elementary schools. I had all this background in middle and high school. So I basically saw, I used to say, I saw LAUSD from San Pedro to Silmar. And everything in between. I could tell you good schools, terrible schools. Yeah. So it was a great opportunity for me, and I was helped in my career by a lot of people. So I'm grateful for all those people who
What
pushed.
made you move in the direction of becoming an educator in the first place?
Well, I got a divorce, and I was married to a man for almost 10 years. And I was a housewife, my husband was in the military and he became a pilot for United Airlines. And I just really didn't work. I just went to school. I took classes for fun and, and to further my education. I was 18 years old when I got married. So, and I'd grown up in the South, not a great education where I had grown up. And so there was a lot I needed to do and make up. And so I just kept going to school. And all of a sudden, this counselor called me in and said, "You have all these courses in English. So you're ready to go on to a 4-year college as an English major." And I said, "Okay." So I went to Cal State Dominguez Hills. It was brand new and very close. I lived in Manhattan Beach and it was very close to my home. So I went there and obtained a BA. Then my marriage, for obvious reasons, I would say my husband and I had two things in common. We both like girls. And that does not make for a good marriage to a man. And so that
You know what
is,
I thought was interesting just now? You said I was married to a man. Isn't that in our time, our lifetime, that is part of our correct expression to identify the sex of the person we were married to because of same-sex marriage.
that's right. And did
Uh,
you ever in your lifetime think we would see same-sex marriage? I never did.
I always felt married, but I didn't think about it, but I wanted it. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. But just listening to you qualify it was, I thought, well, that's new.
Yes, because when you say to young people, I'm around a lot of young people, and I have learned to say that I was married to a man because they know I'm gay. They think married. Well, she must have been married to a woman. No, in my day, sweetheart, you couldn't be married to a woman.
Right. I know.
You might be married in your heart, but you weren't going to be married by law. So, yeah.
Now we have to qualify it, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, so the
Fun.
marriage was falling apart, and my husband said he would give me alimony to have to get some kind of profession. And of course, my biggest interest has always been in literature. I was best in English. And I think I mentioned to you, I got married, I honestly think in many ways, because I was in nurses training, because I think you
All
or
right, you
your
have to tell this
partner
story.
or
This is
your
mandatory.
wife, one of you is a doctor. I'm not sure which one.
Marge. This is
Marge is a doctor. I was in nurses training and I fainted at the sight of blood. I was in a Catholic school of nursing. And I even fainted at a film that showed blood. They were transfusing I think it's RH positive baby or something. And here I am, faint, dead away. And they made me go to a doctor, find out if there's anything wrong. The doctor said nothing. And they, called me in and said, we were really feeling like you are not suited for nursing, for medicine, Miss Alexander, or Miss Brewer. You're just here. Yeah. So along comes this guy, and I think, and he how was wanted kept saying, I could take you to California. Wouldn't you love to go to California? And I thought, yeah, I don't like Pensacola, Florida. So sounds like a deal to me. So off I went. And that's how I got married. And so the divorce,
how long had you been in training when you fainted?
I, I probably started maybe August and I was married by March of the, yeah. So very short time, but long enough for the nuns to know I was not a good candidate.
That was helpful.
Yeah. So from there, kind of a similar thing, they said, well, you're an English major. English majors become teachers. And I
Okay.
wasn't really thrilled with the thought of being a teacher, but it really was dawning on me, my goodness, I'm going to have to support myself. I'd never, obviously, I'd been married almost 10 years. I'd never supported myself. And I thought, "Wow, I'll have to get a job. Oh my goodness." And so I became a teacher.
Mhm.
And I'm not, I'm not one of those people that I've encountered over the years, of course, who wanted to be a teacher, were really uh, motivated to be a teacher. Mine was more a default choice, kind of like marriage, marriage
Right.
is a default choice.
That's
I'm
a good
weighing
way to-
my options here, people. Do I want to starve or do? And I do honestly think there was kind of very much a push for women into nursing or into teaching.
teaching, right. I would agree.
And
with
I'd already ruled out nursing. So,
that. Right.
so that's how I became a teacher.
Mhm.
And yeah, but obviously stayed with it. I thought many times about changing my profession, but
Yeah. Mhm. It's a hard profession being a teacher.
it was a very hard job, very challenging.
Yeah.
I was so grateful when I retired because I was able to have my pension and make extra money as a consultant because of my variety of experiences
Right.
in education. So that worked out in my favor.
So what was your, when were you aware that you were a lesbian or had desires, thoughts, fantasies about women?
I feel certain I knew as a young person that I was gay. I really, I look back on it. I was not particularly athletic, but I was an athlete wannabe because it put me around a certain type of girls, you know?
Me too.
And so I was like, I don't know, how they have like first string basketball and second string. I was probably 10th string, you know, I was not a very good player, but I was there and I practiced and I showed up. And then baseball, same thing, not particularly good, but you know, they're trying because, and then my mother, some of the women, they didn't live in my neighborhood. And they came over, and my mom said, I don't want you around those kind of girls anymore.
Really, huh? She's spotted.
And yeah, and I said, I'm not sure what you mean, because
Mhm.
I don't think I really knew, so much. I remember somebody when I was young in school,
Mhm.
if you didn't wear, what was it, green on Thursday or some dumb thing like that, that meant you were a gay and they pinched you. Just stupid things, you know? And I don't really remember, maybe I said something to a girl or something, but somebody said that I was gay. I don't even think we use the word queer, that I was
Queer
queer.
was more popular, was
Yeah,
awful.
queer.
Right.
Yeah, very pejorative term.
Were you in elementary school then or high school? What level?
I was probably high school, early high school. And I went home, asked my mother about it, and she kind of blew it off, you know. I I said, what do you think they mean? And she said, I don't think you should worry about things like that, Margie. So, you
How
know,
many children in your family, siblings?
there were 5 of us.
Where were you? In the order?
My brother, God rest his soul, was gone. He was 13 months older than I.
Wow.
And I have a brother 5 years younger, a sister 8 years younger, and a brother 12 years younger. So,
Huh.
yeah,
So you're a large family. Did your father
large
have any
family.
input into your decision to be a lesbian?
My family.
Uh-huh. Did your father, obviously your mother didn't want to talk about it, but how about your dad?
Oh, I think my father was your typical
He was what?
Southern, he was your typical Southern redneck,
Uh-huh.
my dad.
Where were you born?
I was
What?
born in Mississippi,
Uh-huh. Where in Mississippi?
Columbus, Mississippi.
Right.
Same town as Tennessee Williams.
Ah,
Tennessee Williams was born
right,
in,
good.
and close to where Elvis was born. So, yeah.
So how did you get to California?
I got married,
Mhm.
and my husband, when I met my husband, he was in flight training
Mhm.
to become a Navy pilot. And Pensacola is known as the home of naval aviation. So when I was in the nursing school training, nurses training, um, some guys called us and someone answered the phone and they said, we heard there's some very pretty Southern girls over there. Can we come over? And so whoever answered the phone said, well, let me check. If the house mother says it's okay, you can come over. And she said, are they officers? And the girl asked, and yes, we are all officers. And so the house mother said they could come over. You know, if they were
Right.
sailors.
They had status, right?
Yeah, they had status. And so they came over, and my ex-husband just, I mean, practically velcroed himself to me, just was, I guess, very taken by me or whatever.
Uh,
And I met him in November. He was engaged to be married to another woman. He left Pensacola, flew to Oklahoma, broke off his engagement with her, went to his parents' home in California, told them he was going to come back and marry me.
Really?
Came back, asked me to get married or marry him, and we were married in March.
Did you have a really big wedding?
No, because we were poor, you know.
Uh,
My grandmother sold a bond so they could buy it wasn't like a fancy wedding dress, it was like a white sheath, you know, kind of thing.
That's fancy.
And yeah, you know, but it wasn't like elaborate or anything because that was all they could afford. And they had the reception in the church hall.
Mhm.
But yeah, we were very, my father was a bread salesman,
He was what, a gun salesman?
a bread,
bread.
he sold bread. Yeah, bread salesman.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Did he sell door to door?
no, in stores.
We were just talking about that. One of the women that you'll meet, Donna, her father was a bread salesman too.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We ended up in Pensacola. We came to Pensacola when I was 7. Yeah, I was 7. And because my uncle Bert, my father's sister's husband, got out of the military and went to Pensacola for a job.
Mhm.
I think he was doing something like painting airplanes in Pensacola or something. And they convinced my dad, there were 3 of us at the time, to pack up everything, leave Columbus, and come to Pensacola. So he did, for a better job, better life. There weren't many opportunities in Columbus, so they felt my father would have a better chance in Pensacola. So,
Are
and
there
also my father had not gone into the military, and I think that was maybe a source of maybe unpleasantness for him in Columbus. People that didn't go in the military were looked down on. And the reason we found out right before my mother died that my father didn't go in the military was he was not mentally fit.
Really? Did that surprise you?
No, because
No.
he was a rageaholic, very unpredictable kind of, but you would never know that.
Mhm.
No one on the outside would ever see the
Great.
dysfunctionality of my
Mhm.
father. So it was a well hidden secret from the world.
How about from you?
Oh, no,
Right.
yeah,
You knew it, right?
yeah,
Unfortunately, right?
yeah,
Really? Yeah.
a rageaholic, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it was, so,
Are your
difficult.
parents still living?
I beg your pardon?
Your parents living at this time?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
My father died at 65 and my mother at 79.
Uh-huh.
So I've beaten my mother's time on the planet.
Good.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Keep
I think when you outlive your parents, you think, well, okay.
Well, if you think of this project we started and think of younger lesbians looking for some direction, that's in part what this is about. It's a place for them to go through the archives, through the universities, and listen to your story, to my story, to 180 stories at this point. of us, our choices. Just the fact that you have to support yourself is a big factor. I don't, you mentioned that. Other women have also mentioned that. It's an awareness that comes to lesbians about the same time it came to you. So
I think that's
Yeah.
true, that you just, all of a sudden you wake up and you realize,
hey,
it's up to me.
yeah.
I couldn't go to my parents for support.
Mhm,
You know, my mother never accepted the fact I was gay.
mhm.
My mother was a Southern Baptist, and she felt homosexuality was great sin, and
There's
that I was a great sinner.
a point in the delivery called Voices. It's on the webpage. I suggest you go to that. They're brief statements from the people we've interviewed, and about statements they made during their interview that then we pulled out. And part of that is the discovery you have to work and work well.
Yes, because, and I have in my background too, alcoholism and drug addiction,
Mhm.
which I know from a lot of studies that that is very common in our community.
Right.
I am myself a sober alcoholic. I've been sober 44 years. Grateful to be
Relationship
sober.
now?
Am I now? No, I am not. I've not been in a relationship for 3 years. Yep.
How many? 3 years?
3 years since I've been with anyone.
Any gays in your family? Biological?
No, no,
No.
I'm it.
You're it. It's amazing that they're usually, you trace back, you'll find some, or they're coming on the horizon. So,
Yeah, I was talking to a woman Wednesday who came from a family of 6. 3 of her siblings are gay. I'm sorry, 2 of her siblings, so 2 out of 6.
mhm,
She herself has 3 children. She is not gay, by the way. She is straight. She has 3 children, and 2 of her children are gay.
so
And I was saying that to another friend, and she said, that is really not the norm. What you would normally see with that would be 1 out of 6 would be gay. And in her family, probably more like 1 out of 3 would be gay, kind of thing.
I don't know that we know the norm. We're just sort of looking at it now. We have.
Really?
We asked this just out of our own interest. It's not part of a research thing but it's pretty, I'd say, seems like 80% of the women we've interviewed have some contact with someone in their family who is gay, male or female.
80%.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That is a
They're
lot.
undeclared. It's people you look back on, you say, wow, that's what was happening. I just didn't label it. So,
Yeah. No, no one, and I'm it. So, and I've looked back. Yeah, I think I should amend that. I think my aunt, my father's sister, was probably gay.
see, this is it.
Probably gay.
Mhm.
Married to a man, very religious, but a pervert. And I don't mean she was perverted because she
Right, right.
was, but way off in her. Yes.
See, when you examine it, you look, wow, like this, maybe. So, that's
Yeah.
how. And then the more you look at it, you say, probably. So it's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. A lot of fear around that too. Yeah.
So do you have
Yeah.
questions you'd like to ask me or us or
I've just, how many people have you interviewed?
about 175? So. we
Wow.
started 2 years ago, April.
Wow.
We've done other things too. This is your beginning interview, so to speak. Then we interviewed women about their thoughts, feelings on abortion, Roe v. Wade. We do couples interviews. We do coming out specific, how you knew, when you knew. Those are shorter interviews. So we have a variety. You'll see all the options when you look in the webpage.
Oh, okay.
This is, you're in the entry level, which is great. So. And you
Right.
to do as much or as little as you want, but now you're efficient. Well, you know about archives. You're an educator. I am happy to be part of the archives, but I'm learning as I go, so to speak. We are associated with the Mazer lesbian archives. And then primarily we use Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Oh, my alma mater. Yeah. I went to Cal State doing this. Yeah.
If you would like to tour their archives, or I'm sure you've received some awards for your work, your education work. You can make a copy of it, sign it, date it, and they'll put it in their archives. So the BE collection comes up in the Cal State Dominguez Hills archives.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's really expanded, and it's wonderful, the help that we get from them. So if you knew that you were going to die shortly, what would you like to be remembered for?
That's a good question, because I had some health challenges, and I think I have thought more about dying, I would say in the past 2 years than I've ever thought before, because I've come so close to,
Dying.
yeah, what do they say, slipping the surly bonds of earth. Yeah, I would think most of all, I would want to be remembered for how many people, how many women I have helped. What have I done to, there's a phrase from the Bible, and I have to paraphrase. Have I come to the kingdom for such a time as this? So I think of that frequently when I think about my life and I think about the women I work with. What am I doing to give? What am I doing to be of love and service? Where am I holding back all that I could be so I can freely give to others? I think that would be what I want my legacy to be, that
Like that.
I was of love and service. And I met my purpose for which I was sent here. Because I'm kind of, I am a spiritual person in the sense that I think we're all here for something. You may not know specifically what it is that we've been sent for, but if we keep asking for direction, it will be given to us and we will be put on the path to show us what it is. So
thank you for being a part of this.
thank you.